Hello, friends and gamers, and welcome to the Fortress, and welcome to the Think Tank on Wintermute's channel there as well. So we're continuing our series of taking a look at version 4 of Global War 36, and we like what we see so far. I gotta say, I think Wintermute would agree with me on this one. So far, it's all been really good stuff. There's nothing really that really sticks out in a way that we think like, hey, this is game breaking. Like that was one of our concerns, I think, stepping into this. We're like, we really hope, fingers crossed, it's going to be good, and so far it is. So far, we really like every single thing that's come up, I think, right? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still holding judgment on some things that I think are potential. But again, like I said before, until you put it through its paces by actually playing the game, you can only theorize so much. And like I said before, no matter how many times the designers play tested it, once it hits the community, that the amount of play testing that's going to happen in the first few weeks is going to be astronomically huge compared to what they were able to do even over a couple of years.
Yeah, that's right.
That's just the nature of the beast, and that's true of even major corporations. Like I've talked about Hearthstone having this problem, where they release something and it's jacked up, and they're like, "Wow, we really didn't expect this," but they can only play 10,000 games within their company.
That's right.
Well, as soon as it hits the market, it's that new expansion. I mean, there's going to be 1 million games played in the first few hours.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So that's where things start to pop up all of a sudden that they had missed. So this will probably go through some of that as well.
I'm sure. And such a complex and vast game, I'm sure there's certain things that will suddenly pop up, certain features that we pop up. Now, I want to also state that we've said this in our previous video as well, too, that we aren't keeping up with the Discord channel and the ongoing kind of bug fixes and such. This is almost like
trying my best.
You are, yeah, okay. Yeah.
I'm trying my best to get caught up, but a lot of it is just kind of already said and done. There are some things I want to bring up, but I'm kind of just waiting until I can get through the end of the rulebook and then kind of have an actual list.
That's right.
And just put one up there at a time and say, hey guys, I don't know if this is covered, but I see a potential issue here.
Yeah, so, that's right. Yeah, for sure. And so, but hopefully it's some benefit to some people, and they look at it and see things through a different light from whatever we say here too. So also keep in mind too that we're saying things in a friendly spirit. We're not trying to be antagonistic in the spirit that we talk about. This is just kind of a friendly chat that you guys can all be privy to. The viewers can be privy to. So today we're going to take a look at the chapter 3, the victory conditions, or victory as it is. Aaron, I don't know if it matters to you, but I do see your desktop again.
I have no idea what's going on.
Okay,
I truly don't.
It was working before, but then it quit. So moving on anyways.
I've got nothing incriminating on my desktop, so we should be okay.
Right on. Okay. So this chapter has to deal with basically the winning of the game, and it introduces a whole new mechanic that I thought was really interesting and really intriguing straight from the start. So first of all, they done away with losing the negative points for the territories out there, that homeland territories that you lose. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then they go to something called strategic objectives. There are 10 strategic objectives for each alliance. It gives a victory point, but also a bonus of sorts. So how about
hold on before we go there's stuff I definitely want to cover on this.
Go ahead.
So it says the alliance with the highest number of victory points at the end of the game wins. You can be scored by possessing victory cities and by completing strategic objectives. So there was a little bit of confusion with the wording before we get there about completing strategic objectives and the way they're worded, when you only worry about the victory condition at the end of the game. Some of them were worded where it says if this is done, you score a victory point, and then this happens as the reward for it. You don't score there are no scoring of victory points until the end of the game. And I believe they're going to change that wording.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Just to kind of clarify.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
There's no such. You either at the end of the game you either have this condition met or you do not. If you do, you score the victory point or points if it's worth more than one. Right.
Yeah, it's kind of you get the bonus from it, but you don't get the victory point for it. It happens at the end, but the bonus you get immediately if you fulfill the prerequisites. Yeah. Okay.
Also, a major power must have joined its alliance for its victory points to count. So Italy doesn't get to sideline the entire game.
But it couldn't in the last game either. It was technically part of the Axis, but you could declare war against a major power at any time. So even in version 4, it could be on the very last, just before the Americans roll, or even after they roll to conclude the game, like depending.
I don't know if that wording was in there though, that it had to be part of its alliance.
I don't know either. It was automatically part of the alliance, but since in this game you're already part of the alliance anyways, if you're not playing with the variable ending, you could basically declare war on the very last turn of the very just.
Well, you could do. Okay, well, guys, we're about to roll. Okay, declare war.
Yeah, exactly, and become part of the alliance.
but it has to have joined the alliance.
Mhm.
And a nation that has surrendered cannot score any victory points.
Yeah,
So those
well,
are
that's
right
right.
out the window.
Yeah,
So
that's right, yeah.
that's a good thing to have clarified.
Yep, yep.
So these victory cities, there are 10 victory cities. So there's 3 for the Axis, the ones you would expect.
Yeah,
There are the bottom 3 are for, or the bottom 2, Moscow
Yeah.
and Stalingrad are for the Comintern.
yeah,
Nanking is going to be for KMT.
yeah.
So the US, and then London, Calcutta, Sydney, and I'm going to just lump in the Free French with the British for
Sure,
purposes of
sure.
victory
Yeah,
point
yeah, yeah.
conditions because they're so reliant on them.
Yeah,
But those 4 are basically France, Brit.
right.
So the Allies actually have 5 in total, then 3 for the Axis, and then 2
Right.
for the
I see
Comintern.
what you're getting at. That it's already weighted just because of the victory cities towards the Allies in some sense.
Now it's now obviously Nanking and probably
Yeah.
Calcutta are going to be in play a lot.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah,
It's
yeah. Those are the ones
I-
the Soviets can take the easiest, I guess.
You mean the Japanese?
I was thinking of the Soviets because if there's 10 strategic objective points, those are victory points, correct?
Huh? No,
Like
you've got victory cities worth a victory point, and then your objectives are worth a victory point each.
right. So just down in 3.3, there are 10 strategic objectives to each alliance. So that means going off the victory points as was this at the start of the game. At the start of the game, the Comintern start with 2 victory points, and now they have to pick up if they max out everything. Oh, forget it. That doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think you're getting victory cities and victory objectives and victory cities are 2 different things.
Yeah, but each strategic objective is worth 1 or more victory. Okay, fair enough. They're 1 or more. Gotcha. Okay, never mind. Moving on.
No, my point was that right. I'm just making an observation that it's lopsided to start with, but some of them will be in play.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a tit for tat for that.
Yeah.
Also,
that's right, yeah.
there's no U.S. cities are listed there in North America.
That's true. That's true.
At all.
Yeah,
just
that's true.
For obvious reasons. So that makes sense. Okay, so now we're going to go into strategic objectives. So each alliance is 10.
Yeah.
If you achieve that victory condition, or if you achieve the objective, so long as that objective is checked off and said in play, it can be achieved, then you get that bonus.
Yep.
You don't have to be at war to get those bonuses.
Yeah.
All you have to do is achieve the objective.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, some of them you have to be at war to get, but there are some that you do not have to be at war necessarily to get. Now, that's assuming the map hasn't changed in a way that is dramatic. There's one for the United Kingdom that I believe we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Sure. But it's worth noting that you do not have to be at war to get them.
Yeah.
You just have to achieve them. And so long as they're achieved, you get the bonus. So, Axis. Germany has a total of 4 points available to get. It's worth noting that Lebensraum is worth 2 points. It's not worth, so there's only 3 entries, but one of them is doubled up.
That's right. Yeah. But the grand total for all the axes is 10 victory points that they can pick up from all their objectives.
Right. So then Japan will have 3.
Yeah.
So that's going to be 7. And then
Italy has 2.
4. And then Italy has 2. So it's 4, 4, and 2, which is about right.
Sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So Spanish Civil War. The nationalists win the Spanish Civil War. Spain is subsequently neutral or aligned with Germany.
Yeah. That's standard from version 3, I think, or version. Yeah.
Now,
version 2.
however, the big change is if Madrid is captured by an enemy alliance, Germany loses this objective.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. In the previous one, they just kept it.
Yeah. So now instead of having this wrapped up as part of the Spanish Civil War for the bonus you get, it's just part of so the entry for what you would get for winning this is the Blue Legion.
Yeah.
So the Spanish Civil War will have its own separate entry presumably, but this is an objective as opposed to being a subsection of that event. It could have some strange interactions because of that, but I think it's worth pointing out. Lebensraum possessed 3 Soviet city land zones. I am so glad that they upped this to 3. Now Germany has to actually fight for the cities.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
And they don't just roll in and take the 2 easy, low-hanging fruits.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, we're done.
That's right. Yeah.
So at the very least, they're going to have to go into Leningrad, which is a fortified zone, historically a major fight. They're going to have to go for Moscow, which most Russian players are going to fortify out the tooth anyway, and fight for and get that. And Stalingrad, is deep in there.
Hold on, they don't have to. They don't have to unless they change the map drastically. But Smolensk, Kiev, Leningrad.
Well, what I'm saying is Smolensk, Kiev, and then you've got one other.
Oh, I see. One of the three other. Yeah, no,
those
that's
other,
right.
One of those other three that you have to get are actually going to be a fight.
That's right. Yeah, no,
and you're right. Unless the map has changed drastically, Stalingrad is pretty. It's got some fortified areas. It's got rivers protecting it. The way the zones are cut.
Sure,
I do know some of that has changed somewhat. At least some of the borders, border regions. But they should actually have to fight for these cities as opposed to just roll in, take two, and call it a day. And then their bonus for that one is one minor factory in 2 of the 3 possessed Soviet cities once per game. It's also worth noting some of these are okay. You achieve the objective, you get the bonus. There you go. You're done. You don't re-get it. You don't get it every turn. You don't lose it and then get it again and then get it a second time. Nope. If you've achieved it, you get it. That's done. Others are turn after turn after turn. So long as you could achieve this and say that you've achieved this, you get the bonus. Fortress Europe. At least one German land unit is present in all 7 coastal land zones from Denmark to Aquitaine at the end of the German non-combat phase. Worth 1 point. And they get 1 fortification or 1 coastal artillery to be placed in one of these land zones as pieces of the Atlantic Wall each player turn. Normal placement restrictions apply. So this one is a very big bonus. And me and my buddy John were talking about this one, and he was like, whoa, oh my God, how are they getting that? It's like, well, yes, but think about it like this. To take the Netherlands brings the Netherlands into the war. So true. Now the Japanese and the German player really have to discuss amongst themselves the pros and cons of that. And so because now again, assuming that the numbers have stayed relatively the same on the map, I want to say the money islands were worth $9. So, a fortification is worth $10 over 2 turns. 5 and 5. But it's $9 versus 10. So Germany can go and take the Netherlands and bring the Netherlands into the war. And,
that's right. It forces,
Britain can do what they want with that money. And in exchange, they get the wall. And they can just plop down the wall. So there's some tit for tat there. And I really think that this will be an interesting one that's going to go through a couple permutations. And there are going to be people who are going to really ask themselves, is it worth it or not?
It doesn't force the player down a pathway, but they're like, hey, the incentive is there. Fortification is worth what, 6? 10 for fortification and 6 for coastal artillery, if memory serves. So it's like, that's $6 extra to do all that stuff. So even though you're going to war against the Dutch East Indies, and Denmark and themselves will provide you some IPP, it's like, well, it's actually much more incentivizing now to grab Denmark and Netherlands and Belgium and such. Gone are the days when Germany just would bypass Belgium and bypass the Netherlands the entire game. Like now, it's probably not going to happen anymore because the incentive is too great.
I still think that some games should be played the old way. And really being able to, and this is where, again, you got to put your hands on it and you got to really play it. Because there still might be and maybe it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. As opposed to, and it's more up to the, okay, what's your pick your poison, what's your flavor of the day. Versus there's absolutely no reason to go into Netherlands and you never bother taking it.
It's one of those things that you're not forced down a route, but then you're incentivized in a certain direction, and that works quite nicely and really well designed, I would say. But it also, sometimes you should not do it just because you don't want the meta to kind of form. So if you found that there's a meta forming against you doing something, well, maybe that's the game where you don't want to go that route just to shake things up a little bit and keep your enemy off their toes. I will say one thing. Sorry, go on.
Go ahead. One question I had about this was, it says in these land zones. So presumably you could put them on the borders between the land zones as well.
It's fair. Yeah, exactly. I mean, aside from the coastal artillery, but right.
The coastal artillery would have to be on the coast because that's where it has to be.
Another thought I had
in the land zone. Okay. Well, now presumably they're going to go on the coast,
right?
At least the initial wave. But if he's got small, maybe he has an actual plan where it's like, all right, I'm going to super fortify this one. I'm going to put a
That's the thing I was
here,
going to bring
here,
up too.
and here.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to propose.
And I'm just spitballing, a possibility.
Yeah, one of the things a person can do, absolutely, and there's no restrictions against it. I just had a look, and unless it escapes me, is you could put, Normandy is the best defended areas. It's got two rivers on both sides, protecting it, and then it's adjacent to Paris, right? So you could be like, yeah, I'll surrender Picardia and I'll surrender Aquitaine to any invasion. I'll super fortify Normandy from the sea and from the land areas. And now that will be my strong point that if any invasion comes in, I'll launch out otherwise. So you could put like, a fortification in Normandy facing the coast. You could put a coastal gun facing the coast as well. Super fortified, because it doesn't say one per land zone or one per territory, one per border.
Right.
You could super fortify it if you want. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's going to be something that people need to explore to see if it's worthwhile putting one on each or two in one and the rest somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah.
And I am curious to again play that out a couple times to see see what the and hopefully there is no and again I feel version 3 over time the meta became pretty clear, and there was Germany had basically here's the best thing to do all the time, and obviously version 4 is hopefully trying to avoid that ever happening.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I wanted to also say, Aaron, like we don't have to, unless you want to, we don't need to go down each one of these specifically and read them. We could just do the ones that really stand out in kind of a unique way that you have some commentary on, because a lot of these ones I don't have much to comment on.
Oh, I do.
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think some of them are worth analyzing.
Okay, all right.
So that's kind of what I was going for overall. So okay, Japan, Pacific buffer zone. Possess Wake, Midway, Attu, Kiska, and Guam. Now, I am not exactly sure what Attu and Kiska are.
It's off the coast of Alaska, one of the Alaskan archipelago islands there. And it's one island combined together, or series of islands combined together called Attu and Kiska. Yeah.
Okay, so Attu, and so it sounds like Alaska's going to have an extra zone.
No, it already has in version 3 map. It's basically.
I think they're called the Aleutians, though, aren't they?
Not well, there's so Alaska has Alaska proper, Aleutian Islands, and then they have Attu and Kiska all by themselves as a separate land zone.
Oh, they do on the version 3 map.
On the version 3
God,
map.
That's how often it came up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that is really interesting. I didn't realize they were way up there like that.
No, historically the Japanese did. Historically, Japanese
no.
Did,
I understand. I know that happened, but that they've included that as part of this victory condition.
Right. So. Yeah.
So, okay. So the bonus for that is one fortification or coastal artillery placed on one of these islands each player turn. Normal placement restrictions apply. So this is very similar to the German one for the Atlantic Wall.
Right. This one, though, works contrasting the United States one with all originally owned land zones. So theoretically, I mean, they had that in version 3 as well, but now Japan is incentivized to grab one of these areas and Midway, Wake, Guam, any one of them, and really hyper focus on fortifying it to to the tits, essentially, right? Like going all out, fortification each turn.
Did you just say to the tits?
I did say to the tits.
Is that a Canadian thing?
No, you never heard of that?
I have never heard of that. I've heard of tits up.
Okay, maybe that's not a thing. Oh, whatever.
Okay, I'll have to pull up my Canadian English dictionary, my American or U.S. Canadian dictionary translation.
Yeah, well.
So anyway, so Attu and Kiska, are they on the map right now? Are they one zone?
They're one zone, 2 islands.
Okay.
Yeah, one zone, but named for 2.
Okay, so they have to take these 4, and these 4 are a bit out.
They are, yeah.
They kind of reach for them. So okay. Kido Butai. Japan has more undamaged capital ships in the Pacific than the Allies, while at war with the Allies, with an Allies major power. While at war with an Allies major power.
Yeah.
Each heavy battleship and heavy carrier counts as 2. So they have to be at war with an Allies major power. So in theory, they could attack the Commonwealth. America does not get counted at all.
Right.
Then the Allies. Okay, well, no, I guess it says the Allies. So I guess America. Well, no, America wouldn't be part of the Allies yet.
No, technically no.
So they may get this they may be able to pull off this bonus for a couple turns before America enters the war, based on how other die rolling.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And the bonus is new capital ships can be built for -1 IPP per player turn per ship.
So that could be explained a bit more too, like per stage, I would assume is the case, right?
New capital ships can be built for -1 IPP per player turn.
Because what it should almost state is like, okay, so if I leave it sitting in the construction queue for 6 turns, does that mean I get a reduction of 1 IPP for each turn it sits there, right? You know, that's the way it could be interpreted.
I don't think it's saying that.
That's stretching it, of course, right? But it's,
and you're right. This is probably wording that needs to be clarified.
Yeah, yeah.
New capital ships can be built for -1 IPP per player turn per ship. My guess is that means it's much like improved construction.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, per stage. But it could be explained like per turn it's constructed, reduce the cost by something like that. You know, like
right, yeah.
You get the idea. But there's people that are going to look at this who are completely isolated from the community, let's say, and completely misread.
Although new capital ships.
Right, so it does. The fact that
So
we're
if it's
talking
already
about
on the
means
build
it's
queue,
clarification.
if it's already on the build queue, they probably won't get that bonus.
No, but if you put it on there once you're at war, I mean, I guess then it's not new. So it needs to be clarified. Is it on the first
okay,
turn?
I'm going to make a note for myself because this should be clarified. Okay. If and anybody who watches these videos, if you're already aware of this having been clarified somewhere, feel free to speak up.
With the understanding, of course, that we're not keeping up with the Discord community.
I'm trying to, and I might stumble across it, and maybe I'll tack on a follow-up video.
Right? Yeah, pin it in the comments.
And at the very least, in the comments below, we'll do our best to kind of keep things up to date.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to get that one clarified. Access to resources, possession of all of Manchukuo, so all of Manchuria.
Yeah.
Possession also of Borneo, Java, and Sumatra. So the 3 big money islands. So long as they possess that, they gain 1 additional strategic rail to all regions each player turn, and 1 additional strategic naval movement. Yeah, I mean, this one makes sense.
Yeah,
makes
sure.
sense.
I mean,
yeah.
It's one of those things that it's not like a wow, that's an amazing feature, but it's like one of those things like good. You know, it's nice. It's one of those things that you fill in a good average, not super amazing, but good enough, you know, to fill in that victory point that you kind of need to fill out and flesh it out. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
You know, the rail thing, I think it isn't that huge of a deal for them because. I mean, I'm sure there are times they want to build in Rehe or strip out Manchukuo to move stuff down to like towards Vietnam or whatever the case is, depending on what's going on. So I'm sure that is absolutely, it doesn't suck. It's just probably not going to come into play as often for them.
No, that's right.
They might get more out of the additional naval strategic point overall. It just depends. Well, that's the sort of one that you just got to kind of play and see, and you know, see if you're the Japanese player and you're like, man, I could really use 1 more strategic naval point.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And then Southeast Asia possess Burma, Siam, Cochin China, Annam Tonkin, and British Malaya.
Yep. Minor factory or airbase once per turn. Yep. No, that's great. It's one of those ones that probably a person would do British Malaya each and every turn just because of a narrow crossings and such like that.
It doesn't. It doesn't say or.
Oh, sorry.
A minor factory and an airbase.
Yeah.
Now, Burma is a little bit of a reach depending on how things are going. Siam, they get Siam automatically. Vietnam's pretty easy for them. British Malaya, though, could be a real hard nut to crack. I know in version 3, I've used the Japanese sneak attack to take that out.
It's worthwhile for sure.
Because once you take that out, now, so this, you know, but then they can go ahead and drop a minor factory. And I am a fan of building a minor factory at Siam. I already, generally speaking, will do that with Japan. So, all right, I'll take it.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then Italy, Africa Orientale, Italia.
Africa Orientale Italiana.
Yes. So possess Eritrea, Abyssinia, and Italian Somaliland. They gain 1 militia.
2 militia, 1 colonial infantry.
I'm sorry, 2 militia, 1 colonial infantry, and either 1 airbase or 1 major port upgrade to be placed in Eritrea, Abyssinia, or Italian Somaliland once per game.
Yep.
Now, I want to read the next one because I want to make a comparison between these two. Imperio Italiano possess Albania, Greece. Now, when it says Greece, I am positive they mean all of Greece.
Right. They're probably renaming the map in that case. Yeah.
And I think they clarified they like the Iranian wartime bonus income for Britain has been clarified. You have to have all of Iran.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I'm pretty sure when they say Greece in this case, they do mean all of Greece.
Yeah.
Malta and Cyprus. And with that, they gain 1 air transport and 1 seaplane for free.
Mm-hmm.
If either are shot down, they will be placed back on the production queue as long as the objective conditions are met.
Yep.
So, those are both okay. I don't have a problem with the bonuses. Now, there is one interesting thing. The first one is going to be real easy for them to get.
Yeah.
But it's going to be harder for them to keep. It's harder for them to keep that area to score that victory point later on in the game.
Sure. Yeah.
The other one is going to be they have to do a little more. They have to do quite a bit more heavy lifting to get, but it's closer to their power base. So once they do get it, it in theory would be easier for them to hold on to.
Yeah.
Just because of the geography of the layout of the map.
Mm-hmm.
So that is an interesting contrast between those two victory points, and it'll be interesting to see how well that how much heavy lifting they have to do to maintain them.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think one big note takeaway from the last Italian one is Italy possesses Albania, Greece, Malta, and Cyprus, not Germany.
Not Germany.
Yeah. And that's a major
It doesn't say Axis. It doesn't say
Axis.
Axis. It says Italy.
Yeah. And that's really cool. That's really cool. I mean, that's one thing that always bugged me about the previous stuff is like Germany didn't want to go into Greece whatsoever. They thought it was a sideshow that was kind of wasted effort to help out their ally. And they were, they're cursing them out under their breath, essentially.
I think there is an argument to be made, though, that some of that wording could be changed to read Axis possess X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Now, the reason being is because it's not, I mean, what if Italy went into southern France, or they went in through Vichy to go help knock the Americans out, but then they technically take that territory. In version 3, or this version. Now, historically, I could see that happening because they did do things like this, where Germany came in and did X, but Italy came in and helped, and they ended up taking the zone. So historically, I think there's an argument that could be made either way. Yeah. For whether it should read Axis or Italy for purposes of achieving some of these goals.
I mean, they could wiggle it around a little bit because you're right. Germany did take over Greece. They could wiggle it around a little bit and say if there is an Italian land unit present in these areas at the end of the game, or it's Italian possessed, right? They could almost do a either or scenario. Italy owns it, or Italy has units present on that.
Well, and okay, that's a whole nother discussion for another time. But anyway, I've made my point. Yeah. I'm just saying that I'm just throwing that idea out there. Yeah. It may become a non-issue, and maybe once you play it a couple times, you're like, nah, leave it like this. This makes sense. Yeah. So there it is. Yeah. So the Allies are a little more kind of all over the place because it's chopped up quite a bit. But the Commonwealth has 3 points. France has 2 points. KMT has 1 point. USA has 4 points. Mm-hmm. So British Commonwealth, Lesser Egypt, and Cape Town. Now, I'm guessing Lesser. I have a feeling there's a southern land zone to Egypt now. Yeah, because that would be like because traditionally Lesser Egypt is basically what historically would have been Nubia. Yeah. Once Egypt took over Nubia, it became known as Lesser Egypt.
I disagree with you.
Upper Egypt or Greater Egypt.
Yeah, I think if it was a southern one, further up the Nile, it would have called, Upper Egypt.
Historically, this was Lesser Egypt.
Like which one? The higher, upriver or downriver?
The most southernmost area was Lesser Egypt.
Really? It was Lesser Egypt?
Yes, that was Lesser Egypt because that used to be Nubia, and then Egyptians went out, conquered Nubia, and that's where they got the pyramids from. The idea for pyramids. And then that became known. And I'm talking in vague generalities. If there's an actual Egyptian historian, don't attack me. Correct me, but that's my understanding is that's Lesser. That's Lesser Egypt.
The problem
So
is
I bet you
they're not
there
going to
is a
divide
southern-
into. I highly doubt they're dividing into 3 territories. And what they want to do is, they're going to have El Alamein. That's not what they're going to call it, but they'll have a territory encompassing El Alamein or somewhere there. Basically where the Rommel could grab and hold on to before he goes to Cairo proper. So
Which
Lesser
there already
Egypt,
is.
yeah. So you said they're going to be a lower down. You said that there's going to be a southern part of Egypt. Is that what you're
So
saying?
it sounds like. That's what I'm guessing. I'm purely guessing based on the word.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's worthwhile guessing regardless, but I don't think so. And let's leave it at that.
So Lesser Egypt and Cape Town connected via an undamaged railroad in British Commonwealth possessed land zones. The bonus is 1 airbase to be placed in any British Commonwealth possessed land zone in Africa once per game, and 1 additional strategic rail movement in Africa each player turn. So this one is a mix of one time and then a ongoing effect. So the question arises now, we don't know what the map is going to look like, but even now, how much money does it cost to build a connected railroad down from South? I don't know. I'm not looking at the map.
Well, if they base it off of this version 3 map, so if they have Belgium controlled Congo, then it'll only cost them the price of what it takes to get from a plains territory into a jungle territory. So that should be 6, I would think, 6 IPP to get it. If it's
Is that
6,
it?
yeah, I can't remember if railways cost $3. I think they actually do cost $3, or maybe it's as low as $2.
That doesn't sound right.
I think it's actually as low as $2, if your memory serves now. Verifications. Railways, they cost normally $2 and $4 in desert in jungle. So yeah,
All right. So
they cost 2 in normal terrain and 4 in desert, jungle, or tundra. So yeah, it costs them 4 IPP. If they wanted to go through Belgian Congo, if they wanted to go through Tanzania, then it costs them $4 that way too.
Okay. So right now we're looking at like $6. We'll
4.
average it out to about $6.
4. Either way you slice it, it's 4.
Okay. Now, and we don't know if there's going to be more zones or not.
That's fair.
But so that actually raises a question for Britain: is this worth investing in early on in the game?
Sure, for 1 victory point. I mean, I wouldn't do it.
Well,
depends if you're building a factory in Cairo.
I think it depends on if the cost goes up. If we're looking at $8, because they still don't have a ton of extra money to spend before the war starts.
No.
So the question becomes: do I need to I'll do it at some point, but I've got to get ready for the real war.
Yeah.
So because they don't have a lot of, I just played the Commonwealth. Trust me, they don't have a whole lot of
no, they don't
extra money to play with. So it does, and of course, if they complete it, then does Italy just come in and break that real easy? Or do you wait until you push Italy off the horn, in theory, and then you connect it safely?
Right, yeah.
Because depending on how the rail goes, maybe Italy can take advantage of that rail.
That's right, yeah.
So there's these are, and again, some of this may it really sucks we don't have the map yet, but that would answer a lot of this. And so I'm kind of throwing out, I guess, just a generalized hypothetical on a pro con. Do you complete this right away, first thing, right out of the gate? Do you wait a little bit? Do you husband, or do you wait till after a certain? Okay, now that Italy's stamped down, we'll go ahead and just complete it, kind of a thing. Or do you husband some of your money? It's like, okay, I can afford it this turn. Okay, I'll put a rail here, and then a couple turns later, all right, we'll put this one here because we can finally get away. We've got a little bit extra spending cash. And that one's kind of interesting, depending on how.
Sure. Yeah.
It is a victory point, so they're going to want to do it at some point. And also, I'm assuming and I don't know if South Africa still has a factory.
Yeah, it should still.
But assuming it still has a factory, then they may want to do that right away.
No,
so they can just start railing.
My opinion, if I was to play the Commonwealth in version 4, is, and the way I play it is, some people would say yes because I want that extra rail movement. But I say, if your factory in South Africa is only producing 1 unit anyways per turn, you don't really need that extra movement bonus or movement point. I mean, you might use it in Egypt, North Africa, if once you have, say, Tobruk and such, to move stuff a little bit quicker that direction. But for the most part, I don't think you need it because you're only going to ship 1 unit from.
But what about the air base in Egypt? or
Yeah, the
Cairo.
air base in Egypt is
I mean,
nice. You want that
that's
one,
a pretty good incentive
want
just to
that
be able
one?
to go.
Absolutely,
All right, well,
yeah.
I'll spend 6, maybe
Yeah.
8, maybe
Yeah.
$10, depending on how the map.
That's right. Yeah.
Get
For the
to
sake
get
of the
that.
air
But I'll
base,
get 6 of it back because I can just drop an air base in Cairo, which is probably where that's going to go most of
that's
the
right.
time.
Yeah. The air base in Egypt is the big factor because that's,
Yeah.
that multiplies the resources all that much more. Yeah. Yeah. Or
Never
power
sets.
projector stuff. Whatever.
Yeah. The sun never sets. Possess Gibraltar, Malta, Lesser Egypt. Well, no, I guess Lesser Egypt would be in Cairo. That does make sense now. Or Cairo, and maybe I'm getting it reversed. That Lesser Egypt is Cairo. That doesn't sound right.
It must be Cairo, man. It must be.
Yeah, because that's got to be where the canal is.
Yeah.
Because that's the important part. South African Union and British Malaya. So they get 1 additional strategic naval movement each player turn. In terms of it being worth 2 victory points, it's very important. So Malta's going to have to be fought for. Gibraltar's going to need some reinforcement. Now the rest are, less, and most people do, but Lesser Egypt, South African Union, you can't risk letting go.
No.
And you're going to have to fight with British Malaya.
Basically, all those you really, really want. I find the bonus for this is
well, nobody gave it 2 craps about Malta in version 3.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I find the bonus in this is not that incentivizing, but the fact it's not so much the bonus that you need on there. It's mostly that the fact that everything else is so valuable and the victory points. That's what's interesting, right? And so I think it's a calculated thing. Is like the bonus you get for it is underwhelming because any sufficiently competent British player is going to do their damnedest to try to hold on to all those territories.
Well, now that Malta's there, now that Malta's there on the list, and I think Malta was in a victory objective for Italy. So Malta is going to be in play in this version, one way or the other. It's going to be in play.
That's right.
And you're not able to just sit there and spam militia on it, spam militia a turn anymore. That doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen. Yeah.
So you're going to have to do something, which I'm okay with. I think that makes sense. The additional strategic naval movement. I will be honest about this right now. I'm still, having played strategic naval movement version 3, I'm completely underwhelmed by it.
Same. Yeah.
It is almost silly, underpowered, and not, doesn't make any sense.
Marginally beneficial, but that's about it.
Yeah, marginally beneficial. And I used the heck out of it my last game, and I'm still like, I still have a very sour opinion of it.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, it's good.
I'm not going to say that is going to be the same case version 4.
If you get a good system going where you're trying to get Anzac troops up to India and such, then it's like, okay, I could use it. For Britain, it's pretty beneficial to Britain. Sure, I'll grant you that, but it's not as beneficial as I'd hoped it would be.
I think every ship should just move 7, 8, call it a day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Look, I get what you're saying. What you're saying.
But that's a different discussion.
Yeah. Okay. Let's discuss it some other day. Chalk it up for another discussion.
So France, a world power. France is a major power at war with an Axis major power. Note, this can happen either before surrendering to Germany, early in the war, or after Paris has been liberated and France has been resurrected, or both. And so long as they're scoring it, they get 1 foreign legion to be placed in a French possessed land zone with a point value each player turn. So they can spam out foreign legion guys so long as France is still a world power.
I would call this quite the fulcrum of a victory point. I don't know if you're familiar with that term. It's a pretty fantastic victory point. It's like once you get it, it's like 2 victory points. You're definitely on the winning side now, probably as France. You get a free, 3 extra bucks or whatever it is for French unit per turn. It's like, this is actually pretty amazing. So
it also just worth pointing out, they can get this bonus before Germany takes Paris if there's successive turns. If Germany fails to take Paris.
That's right. Yeah.
So Germany now has to factor in, well, he's going to get a free extra guy in presumably Paris every turn.
That's right.
Or somewhere that might be a linchpin of defending there. If I don't just take it out right away.
Take
it out right away.
That's right. You gotta have to.
Now it's not a huge thing, but it is something that's probably going to have to be taken into consideration.
Considering that the French income is what, $18 or whatever it is. Like,
I think so.
Yeah. So $3 on top of that's nice. It's a nice slice of money. I want to quickly, before we get too far. I just remembered one thing I wanted to say about the Italian one, about the air transport and the seaplane before we go on to the next page. So one thing I would note, it's a neat little feature. I don't know what historically, if the Italians function that much with air transports and such. Maybe they did. I'm not too familiar with it. I do know that
they had an airborne unit
yeah.
that was never once even, I think,
Right.
saw
Yeah.
an air transport.
Okay,
like
yeah.
they fought as infantry, but they were they were trained to be airborne, but they fought as infantry.
Yeah.
So the entire war. So
yeah, I knew that.
They're definitely rounding up.
Yeah, they are. I mean, the objectives that they have to hit now, Greece, Malta, Cyprus, and held by Italians as it appears so far, that's pretty costly. So the reward has to be somewhat sufficiently equal to that. But
so historically, it's kind of like, okay, but mechanically, does it work? Probably.
Yeah. Now, I did this. I read up on Italy in the Mediterranean, and they're fascinating. They actually sunk a whole heck of a lot of Allied ships, a lot of destroyers. Like, I think the number was 109 surface warships that the British owned were sunk by the Italians. But the thing of it, it's like the Italians flying German aircraft, right? So it's, what is it then? Is it German Stukas, or, who do you chalk that one up as a victory to? They had a fantastic fleet as well. It was very quick. Like it blew everything else out of the water. They had,
the fighter pilots still, you had to know how to fly a Stuka.
Yeah.
You had to be trained on that. That wasn't like a basic aircraft you could just hop into and fly off and start bombing aircraft or bombing ships.
It depends on how you categorize. Like, did the Italians sink it, or did the German aircraft sink it? Right? Like,
I would say the Italians did.
Yeah, oh, sure.
I would give that to the Italians.
Yeah, sure.
But and they always had good pilots.
Yeah, people always like knock them down and say like, the Italians, spaghetti army or whatever. Right? Like, always kind of meme it out a little bit. I think they're selling them a little bit short. The Italians actually did, for what resources they had and for the popular support of the war, which there wasn't very much for it. They actually did pretty okay wherever they could, considering they had like a third-rate army.
I think we talked about this at one point.
We might have,
where I don't know if it was on a video or not, where when competent leaders showed up, the Italians fought as well as anybody else.
Yeah.
They just, they were just as capable of achieving their goals and fighting like they should fight at that time period. They were but they had a complete lack of equipment and a complete lack of leadership.
Yeah.
So it's not fair. On a whole, yes, the Italian military was a shambles, but that doesn't mean the individual soldier was an incompetent platoon.
That's right.
They were the ones who were probably like, man, I wish I had some guy
that's right,
lead me into battle.
Yeah, not some glorified opera singer.
If he told me to jump, and I trust him that I will jump.
That's right.
They didn't really have that.
Yeah. Going back to this year though, so air transport, that's kind of okay, fair enough. And the seaplane is like, well, that's interesting. I read that seaplane as to represent more the German aircraft that they put into there, because I don't know how many Italian seaplanes are out there. Maybe I need to do more research, but I think that's supposed to represent some of the effort that they did do in the Mediterranean, the aircraft, because they can't give them Stukas. They can't give them tactical bombers from the design perspective.
Another way to look at this is, okay, if I achieve this objective and I do now have an air transport and I do now have a seaplane at my disposal, what now?
Yeah.
What do I do with this now? Is this going to have a goal?
Well,
do I have, when I'm playing Italy, once I achieve this and I get that air transport, do I have an idea of what I'm going to do with it? Am I going to have airborne already built, or is it going to sit there for a couple turns until I figure it out?
Well, the way I see it is, it's a way to secretly the way to reinforce your islands with one free infantry per turn. I think there has to be an air base there.
And that might be the best way for Italian players, or the most common way that they do it. Because their transports obviously,
are going to be sunk immediately, right?
Could in theory be sunk unless they move their entire fleet back and forth to support it. And even then, what if they don't have a fleet?
Sure. Yeah, that's right.
What if you knock the fleet out, but then the British can't exactly have the lift to take those islands back? Well, at least now the Italians can drop a guy there or turn. There's and I think, and some of these are interesting because they set it up where, as you play the game, all right, I know this is a victory goal versus 2 points, and once you play it a couple of times, you'll already have an idea. I know exactly where that factory is going to go when I score that Japanese victory condition, or the Germans when they get Liebmans are all. I know exactly which two cities are getting that minor factory. That sort of mental tempo, where you don't get something and you're like, all right, how am I going to put this into effect? What am I going to do with this? Well, that's, and that'll probably come with the more people play this, you'll probably see that. And so some of these are interesting where I'm sure there are times I already predict there are going to be games where people are going to go, okay, well, I got that free air base, I'm going to put it here. 5 turns later, they're going to go, I did not think that.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Yeah.
I really should have thought about that more.
Yeah,
now I understand that there was a much stronger place to put that air base for whatever, or that factory, whatever, for whatever.
Yeah. I did want to point out too that you're going to have to mark which air transport and which seaplane that is. And it's not like the Italians will have loads and loads, but you're going to have to mark which one because, if one of them gets sunk, you get another one for free. So it's,
I think you could, at the very least, you could just ticky-tack an Italian roundel to the bottom.
Oh yeah. Just a side comment. It's not it's not a game-breaking thing for sure by any stretch.
Yeah. Or you could have one, because they can never have more than one of those specialties. So you could have one in your tray that has an extra colored stripe along its wing.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So I think that's not going to be at the end of the world.
What I foresee this thing doing is, because you can, seaplanes can only attack naval transports and submarines. So what you're going to be doing with them is they
can also raid convoy lines now.
Sorry, and raid convoy lines. So they're going to be interesting in that sense, like suicide mission, whack, try to hit that British naval transport. Maybe there's will be a sub there that'll take that casualty. Doesn't matter if it's buried behind like 16 destroyers or anything like that. It's like whack, try to hit it. No, I lost it against.
No, that's not how that works.
Can only hit submarines and naval transport if you roll a dice. Like maybe I am wrong in this.
But transports are only taken last. Meaning if there is any other surface ship there, it does not count.
Yeah. Okay.
No such thing as suiciding seaplanes.
Okay. All right. If you say so, I'll trust your word on it.
I believe there's an actual example in the rule books.
Okay. Fair enough. I haven't read to the battle combat.
I've glanced through most of the combat section. I'm still getting through because as I read it, I make a lot of notes and I'm like, oh, okay, maybe, right. Am I reading that right? Maybe I should get that clarified.
Right. Fair enough.
So, but no, you can't sue you. Otherwise, you might just see that. You might just see some of these nations go, well, I'm just going to go ahead and the hell is going on here? There we go. I'm going to go ahead and, Germany may just build 3 or 4 or 5 seaplanes a turn. And as soon as America shows up, they just suicide them on that. It sounds stupid to do, but taking out those transports is just so vital. But that's not how that's supposed to work.
I'm reminded of like the Bismarck attack. We're really bogging down here, but I'm reminded of like the Bismarck and such, where it's like they had the ferry biplanes trying to take out the Bismarck, and they're so slow that they actually had a hard time getting a bead on them with their anti-aircraft guns because they moved so slowly across the water.
What the hell?
It's still over there.
All right. Hey guys, I don't think they're taking this very seriously.
No, that's right. But I think they're also very durable too, because you shoot down one set of wings and there's like, they still got another one.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, moving on.
Okay. All right. Let's KMT.
Yeah.
So no shock that the KMT victory condition and the CCP victory has the same one to evolve to a major power.
Yep.
And if they do, they can place one major factory in any city land zone.
Yeah.
Or one minor factory can place in a land zone once per game. So if they take Nanking, presuming the map isn't super different, there's Nanking and there's Peking to the north.
Yeah.
So long as they've got one of them, they can get a major factory there.
Which is a very perfect.
They can start rolling tech in theory.
This is a perfectly designed bonus as far as I'm concerned, right? The CCP, they're probably gonna be like, I want it in Peking because it's closer to Russia, and if it's KMT, then they're gonna want the other side. So perfectly.
And I like that they still get something, even if I've hit 13 IPP. All right, we're just gonna put up with the minor factory down here, and at least we're in the game. We can do stuff with that now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think it'd be an interesting game at some point. This is where the KMT player and the CCP player are like, look, let's strike a deal. Let's both evolve to a major power. Let's try it out. Like, let's both. And it would take an immense amount of trust. Be like, you take these territories, and then you back off, and let me take those territories, and then we come to some little middle ground where we're both a major power for whatever reason. I think that'd be kind of cool. Anyways, moving on.
USA Big Blue Fleet, twice as many undamaged capital ships in the Pacific as Japan. Each heavy battleship and heavy carrier counts as 2, and their bonus is basically the exact same as Japan.
Except
new capital ships
they don't have to be at war.
Yes, correct. America does not have to be at war. They just have to have them. And that actually does historically make sense because America, a lot of America building up to the war was just, we just got to make sure we got enough firepower out there to keep Japan in check.
Again, this goes to that question of like, is it for every ship you put on the production chart or every stage of every ship that you're building?
I'm going to follow up to get that clarified.
Well,
it does say new. It says new capital ship.
That is probably the emphasis.
Put a brand new one down. It's one less. And so if you every turn you put a new one down and you get that for 5, well, you're still saving 5 IPP.
Yeah, you are.
That's not necessarily insignificant.
That's right. Yeah,
but
that's right.
Will putting down a ton of capital ships be worth it in the long run based on the overall strategy for how you're dealing with Japan? And all the naval units are a little different now. They're not just. It's not just a difference in stats. Everyone has a different type of ability now.
That's
so
right.
So you might get. You might still see players spamming light carrier or light cruisers, or they may go with heavy cruisers for a different reason.
I think they up. Yeah, I think they up the cost of light cruisers.
They've got a mix of ships.
Yeah.
What?
They changed the cost of light cruisers, so it's now one stage thing, and so the bonus is not there. I want
to say they're 9 IPP. Now.
9, yeah. So now it's more beneficial for heavy cruisers, but that's almost too expensive to have them as cannon fodder. So
it puts them in a much better spot.
It does, and plus, yeah. I mean, they've
like I said, each one of those ships now has like an additional ability attached.
That's right.
To it.
Yeah, that's right. Which we'll get to that later, but I think that's all very good moves. I like it. Yeah.
Triumph of capitalism. USA is at war with a major power, and the combined incomes, including bonuses, of Great Britain and USA are more than twice the income of the USSR, including bonuses. Now, it does not say the Commonwealth. It says Great Britain. That's worth pointing out. And then to get that, USA can place one of its purchased units at a factory in Great Britain's home country each player turn. This does not affect the production capacity of the factory for the Great Britain player.
Hold on, what did you mean before when you said it doesn't say the Commonwealth? It says Great Britain. Okay, yeah, sorry, yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So yeah, this goes into that three-way war of making sure that the allies are doing better than Russia. I have a little bit of reservation about this one for the same reasons I had a reservation about some of those victory conditions tied to going after Russia in 3rd edition, but we're just gonna have to play it out.
This one's going to be interesting because it's worded in such a way, triumph of capitalism. Well, capitalism over socialism, but in a way, it's almost never going to show up in that light. It's going to be showing up only when the Axis have sufficiently condensed the USSR to be small enough that now the Commonwealth Great Britain and United States are big enough. So it's already socialism is always declining, but they're almost lumping in capitalism as in kind of the Axis, the fascistic kind of capitalistic nations, all told, including like the fascistic ones, right?
Well, it's not, but is it just about making sure Russia is shrunk, or is it about making sure that Great Britain is doing incredibly well?
Right.
Because
they're both hand in hand for sure.
The U.S. is basically going to be at $75.
Yeah,
most of the time, 72, assuming they lose the Philippines. So really, most of the play comes in what is Britain doing in terms of its bonuses, in terms of maintaining its territory, and it might be worth it for the U.S. to go liberate a lot of Great British territories, so that Great Britain gets pushed over that double mark, rather than relying on Germany to keep Russia in check.
Yeah, but if memory serves, your Russian income is like 40. Let's say 40 something. Something tells me it's. I can't remember exactly. I thought
it's still like 46. I think
46, and I don't think British income is ever that high. I think 24 seems to speak to me somewhere there.
24. So let's say America's at the U.S. is at 72.
Yeah.
That puts them at right off the bat. That's let's say Great Britain's at 20.
Yeah.
That puts them at 90.
Yeah.
So right there, they're right there. Now, of course, Great Britain, I think, is really going to be the one in play there, because how well is it Italy?
Yeah, that's
how well
right.
is Italy doing?
That's right. Yeah.
And maybe that makes America go, or the U.S. go, you know what? we want to liberate some of these territories in Africa to get there.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
fair.
once we
That's
get
fair.
that Britain past that mark, we can go ahead and start building a fighter every turn or whatever up there.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
At a factory. Now, okay, here's an interesting caveat to this. Can place one of its purchased units at a factory in Great Britain's home country. It does not say shipyard.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's got to be either air or ground.
Yeah. Unless, of course, they're saying shipyards, they build units if they're connected by railway to a factory. So maybe they're thinking.
But shipyards don't use factory capacity.
They don't use factory capacity, but an argument theoretically might be able to be made to say, but you still need that factory. So it's produced at the factory. It's produced at the shipyard via the factory.
I think this is deliberately worded this way, but it's worth asking.
Yeah, no, interesting. Yeah, I'm probably just grasping at straws here. I'm probably completely wrong.
I'm not. I don't think you're wrong, but I think it was my theory is it was deliberately worded this way.
Yeah,
for a very specific reason.
Yeah.
So now here's one that I am not happy to see. Technological supremacy. Have researched heavy strategic bombers, long-range aircraft, strategic rockets, jet fighters. Their bonus is 1 heavy strategic bomber and 1 strategic rocket once per game. Strategic rocket, 1 strategic rocket is like $3. You shoot it off once.
Yeah.
Whatever. You're going to ship it over to Britain and let it do whatever it does.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
Sure.
The heavy strategic bomber is definitely more worth it.
Yep.
That's the one that matters. But we have a random victory condition.
We do.
Based purely on the dice.
Yeah.
I'm really, really, really gonna watch this one close. Because I am not. I had a big problem with this in version 3. I'm not going to pass judgment on anything until I played a full game. But I am surprised that this one is still here.
Yeah, same.
To be perfectly honest, I'm surprised it's still here.
Yeah, I think it would have been. Yeah, I honestly don't know what to make of it because I get what they're trying to do with it. They're trying to get people to focus and spend some of their. Well, I don't know. I don't like it either. That's all I can say.
At the end of the day, it's random. You're just rolling dice.
It's random. Yeah.
You either get it or you don't.
I mean, statistically, you're probably going to get it, but it's still unfortunately you have to depend on.
Yeah, the only decision you will have to make is whether I skip rolling for it a couple turns. Because I want that and that a little more. Those are higher priorities.
Yeah.
But if you really want to score this point, you have to basically roll for strategic rockets every turn. They're still at a 9, as far as I know. I don't have them right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure they're still at a 9. So, well, there's a tech die every turn.
Yeah.
So, I'm a little iffy on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's something else they could have put there instead, I think, but whatever.
Yeah. Sphere of influence. Possess all its originally possessed land zones. That would also include the Philippines.
And not doing Kisgan, Guam, Wake. Yeah.
So, not much more to say about this one. The strategic nail movement, I read it. It doesn't sound like it works any differently than the last edition. So I'm completely underwhelmed by it. It's one you're going to get for the victory point. And, I have an extra strategic naval movement point. That gives me 4 now. Whoop-de-doo.
And most likely they actually reduced what they had in version 3 in version 4 and then bumped it up using this. Look, it's a way to fill it out and to flesh it out. And I think, I mean, you can only have so many things to throw into the mix, right? So it's like, yeah, sure, why not, right? It fills it out. I'm not overwhelmed by it, but it's like, yeah, I understand why they put it in there.
So, CCP actually has 2 than all the rest of USSR. Chinese Civil War, exactly like the KMT. Nothing to really talk about that one. Spread the Revolution, though, is interesting.
That's cool.
Because that's
I like that.
Burma, Siam, Cochinchina, and Tonkin. And they get 2 infantry and 1 minor factory to be placed in one of these land zones once per game. Now, Burma's a bit of a stretch. Cochinchina and Annam Tonkin are not beyond the realm of possibility for the common turn to take, depending on the way the game flows. So long as they have dominated the KMT and or pushed Japan back, because if they start up here, KMT's power base is below them. So in theory, they're going to have to get through those territories to be able to get next to Siam, Cochinchina, and those other areas, or the Vietnam areas, and then actually get in there and fight for them. So this one is going to be a lot of heavy lifting for the CCP to get.
Yeah.
overall, and Burma. They
Yeah.
got to go into Burma.
Yeah.
So they got to go into Vietnam, into Siam. Then I believe it's back over to Burma. I don't remember how the map is connected that way, but they're going to have to. So if Japan never takes Burma, they're going to have to declare war on
Yeah.
the Commonwealth to take Burma.
Yeah.
And maybe that's exactly what they intended, and that's okay. I'm not pissing on it. I'm simply pointing out that okay, this seems like it's going to be a really difficult one for the CCP to get.
Well, geographically, if they maintain the same territory stuff as in version 3, Anam Tonkin is adjacent to Burma, and Anam Tonkin is the northernmost area there.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, so you can walk across. So it shouldn't take you forever to get there. But yeah, you will have to declare war against the allies. I like it. I like it because it's probably balanced. It sounds difficult, but it's probably balanced with their other victory points where some are more easier to achieve. So this one's probably balanced in that way, that to kind of give that little bit of tension in there, which I like.
Yeah, and I'm not pissing on it, saying it's terrible. I'm just pointing out this is.
Yeah,
I don't see them getting this one very often.
Yeah.
Like the stars got to align just in the right way.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the rest are all going to be USSR. Pacific expansion, possess all of Manchukuo and the Kurile Islands. And then they get one minor factory in Novosibirsk, or one minor sub-factory in Novosibirsk gets upgraded to a major factory, or one medium factory to be placed in a city land zone in Soviet home country once per game. So this incentivizes Russia going after Japan at some point in the game, and in a way that they can take the Kurile Islands. Because if I remember correctly, Kurile is split in half. Now, I don't know. I'm assuming it will be the same way. It's split in half.
No, you're thinking of the Sakhalin Islands. You're thinking of the Sakhalin Islands. So Kuril Islands are further to the west, east.
But the Kurile are purely Russian.
No, they're purely Japanese.
Oh, they are Japanese.
Yeah.
Okay. So they have to have the Kurile. Okay. So, it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah,
I think this one won't be a simple one for Russia to do either.
I like the fact that they threw in Kuril Islands over there, because the Manchukuo, it's like, Russia has a big land force, but the Kuril Islands, like,
they got to think about it.
Well, and the Americans
the logistics of it,
right? Yeah. And the Americans can look at it kind of hungrily, be like, yeah, if we grab that, that's going to prevent them from holding on to it.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and then so the Russians are probably going to snipe it with the air transport.
Yeah, that's possible too. Spanish Civil War is pretty much just the opposite of, or the same as Germany. Winter War, possess Helsinki.
So they renamed this Helsinki. I'm assuming this is just Helsinki, this is a major assumption.
Helsinki is a city, correct?
That's right. So my assumption is they made Helsinki into a city.
Yes, I agree with that, because I know in version 3 they said that they stopped naming the territories after cities. And if it was a city, it was named after whatever city it was. And then the territories, because it was creating confusion with players. My guess is they're keeping that concept alive.
That's right. Yeah.
And so my guess is Helsinki will be an actual city. Then if they do, they can move 2 of the following 3 technologies up one stage: advanced artillery, advanced mechanized infantry, or heavy armor once per game. Now, we're not going to delve into this ties in with the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and the Peace Treaty of Moscow, or the Moscow, because now there's like an added factor to the Winter War. It's very complex, and it's not worth going into now, but this ties in with that, and it's going to be some interesting decisions that the Russian player is going to have to make about signing it, and the implications of signing it, and do they sue for peace, and all that other stuff. So I mean, we're not going to talk about that, but it's like one of those things that'll be a different video. I'm just pointing out that it is tightly connected with that.
Right. I'm going to look at it just from like the bits and pieces of it. Winter War, what we think of the Winter War is capturing Viipuri area, like adjacent, that little area, to give them a bit of a buffer before they got to Leningrad. And it wasn't so much capturing all of Finland, I think, right? No. I mean, that's the agreement that they wanted to take, is just a buffer area from the Finland. So Winter War, is that the right name for it? Because capturing Helsinki was not the objective, really.
It wasn't the objective. I thought it was the objective.
It's one of those ones that
it was the sort of thing my understanding was they would have taken Helsinki if they could have.
I thought
but they couldn't, so we'll just take that buffer zone. like they knew they would have to bleed heavy to keep on going. So, and I'm not going to presume to be an expert on the finer points of the Winter War.
Yeah. Well,
But,
let's leave it at that. I don't know. I'm not educated
this
enough
one is
myself
going to necessarily we will probably have to revisit this particular victory
let's visit it
condition
later on
when we talk about the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and all that. So tech supremacy. Now Russia, it's easier for Russia to get. They only need jet fighters and strategic rockets. However, strategic rockets are pretty hard to get. I think jet fighters are 8s. But they get 1 jet fighter and 1 strategic rocket per game. Again, it's a random one.
It is a random one, yeah.
It's just random. So we're just gonna wait to see how it works out. Propaganda war. Possess all city land zones in Soviet home country. Now they don't get a bonus for this one.
Yeah, that's a good point. One quick thing. I would have said that one interesting factor would have been this technological supremacy. It would have been interesting if they would have given a free strategic rocket once you've achieved that objective. Per turn.
Oh, per turn. And maybe they'll rework it that way.
Maybe, yeah. But I thought that would be interesting.
Like I said, I think there's still room for a lot of feedback and a lot of change for the final product. So I'm not ruling anything out.
Because right now strategic rockets are kind of rubbish. Yeah. Well, okay, no, that's not quite accurate. They're not rubbish. Are they rubbish?
No,
they're not bad. Okay, they used to be rubbish.
No, didn't I talk with this about?
We talked about it many times, but they used to cost 6 IPP, and now they're down to 3. So yeah, they're not rubbish now. They actually could do some damage on them.
But have we talked about how the strategic bombing changed?
Yes, in relation to research roles.
Yes, in relation to now. You start repairing at the start of the turn, but it's not fixed until the end of the turn.
That's right.
That's where strategic rockets are going to be vital.
Yeah,
well, not vital, but this is where they're really going to be
right. Like 1 point of damage
on that airfield, you'll lose that bonus.
Sure, absolutely.
On that factory, you lose your tech roll.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can repair it, but they're going to have to skip.
They become much more interesting. Like I think they're worthwhile now by a long shot, right? Because you could do a lot of.
They don't get the attrition roll.
Yeah.
Which whatever.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on.
Okay, so access to the Mediterranean. Possess Istanbul and an undamaged shipyard in Crimea. So they actually need to possess Istanbul to get this. So 1 naval transport to be placed in Crimea, if sunk, can be placed back in the production queue at no cost, so long as the objective conditions are met.
This one's going to be one of those weird ones that could be sacrificial, right? It's like, I got naval transport. Whoosh, capture some allied territory somewhere. I don't care if I lose my naval transport. I got 2 units now into Tunisia or whatever, right? It'll be interesting.
Yeah, but it's still. And one question I do have is when are these conditions checked?
I would imagine at the end of the turn, you get the extra bonuses at the end of the turn.
Does it, because if it gets destroyed on that turn and then you're immediately able to replace it again, then yes, that is a little worrisome. As opposed to checking it, placing like you check it at the beginning of the turn. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think there might be some potential timing thing.
But even if it's 1 turn hiccup, right? You lose your transport, you get it the subsequent turn, put it on the board, and then the subsequent turn launch it somewhere. It's still, $7 or whatever it is for a free attack somewhere far away, right? Yeah,
no, you're making a good point. Yeah, you're making a good point. And we'll have to play it. You gotta play it.
That's right. Yeah.
European buffer zone, possess Warsaw and central Romania. I know that Romania is now multiple.
Bessarabia, probably
I wouldn't be surprised if there's 3 zones.
Yeah.
Probably, and that makes sense. Transylvania, central Romania, and then Bessarabia would make sense.
For some reason, Transdanubia seems to be the right one, but maybe it is Transylvania.
Yeah, because I think Transylvania kind of runs along the north end of the country. I don't know the geography very well.
Yeah.
And then there's like the mountain range, and then there's the rest of the country.
That's right, yeah.
And then you've got Bessarabia, which is kind of the plains leading up towards Russia.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, it's like an L shape with the mountains, in the space of the L. Yeah.
And so 1 fortification to be placed in Warsaw and 2 infantry to be placed, and 2 infantry to be placed in central Romania.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, now it is now officially random End of
Nice.
game is part of the game.
Hey,
Random game ending.
yay.
So now the game can end in 1944. You're still rolling a d12, and then subtract 1 from the rolls for each. Subtract 1 from what the U.S. player rolled for the game and die for each enemy possessed originally owned major power capital. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a strong opinion on this. This is already a commonly played house option.
Yeah.
So
it kind of sprung into prominence.
I do, and I haven't checked the dates specifically. I do know one thing I didn't like about it was that it could end the game earlier than it would have traditionally been. I didn't like that, especially in second edition or third edition, where time was already so against the Allies from doing anything that you end the game early. Fuck it. What chance do we have?
That's right. Yeah.
And it was so easy to keep America out of the game that great. I guess 3 turns to do something. Fantastic.
Yeah. That's true.
So I haven't actually checked the dates to see if they've modified that at all. So, but I don't have an inherent problem with it until I play it, and then we'll check it. We'll see. We'll see how I feel.
I feel like the war ended in 45, because I do remember it would have ended a couple turns beforehand. Is that correct? January 1945 seems to spring to mind. Well, maybe not that date.
When the war officially ended?
Yeah, I believe so. But
we have the power to double check this.
We have the means.
We have the technology.
But yeah, I do know in a few games it ended on the very first turn, which is like, well, that kind of sucks, because it's like we only just start getting the ball rolling as America, and then things start falling apart.
So that's a big thing that I'm looking at in this edition is how easy it is to just throw America, just never do anything. Japan, never do anything. Grab your victory conditions towards the very end, at the very end of the game, and America's got no time to do anything in response. September of 1945.
September. Okay. Yeah.
So the game in theory could end 3 turns sooner than it would have historically.
Yeah. 3. Yeah.
July, January, and then
2 turns.
Two, depending on how you cut July.
Yeah. So a person could lose a full year essentially.
The Allies could lose a full year.
That's
and I don't see that. I really don't see that hurting anybody but the Allies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I know in my game, in my YouTube board, it's like, I finally started things going here, and the rest of the world wasn't going so good. But it was like, well, everybody. I mean, I felt disappointed that I didn't get to see more action between the Soviets and the Germans in my YouTube board that I played not long ago. And it was also nice to have seen some more action with the Americans. But hey, that's the way it works. And I like the variable ending. So if that's what it takes to have the variable ending a couple turns sooner, I'm cool with that. It's just as an American or the Commonwealth player, you're left a little bit disappointed,
Yeah, but again, there are so many other variables involved with version 4. I'm commenting on the things that I am watching closely.
Yeah.
That I think could still be issues, but I'm not assuming that they're going to be issues until you play the game.
It's too early.
And a lot of that stuff that I like I said, a lot of that stuff that bugged me about third edition, you changed enough of it over here. Well, we didn't really need to change this anymore because so much other stuff kind of absolutely change the balance, change.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Okay, great. So I'm not gonna, I'm just commenting that I think there's potential here for this, and this. But everything else so far is interesting. Makes me want to play the game.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
for me too. Yeah.
So,
like the more I read into it, the more it's like, I don't really want to go back to version 3 again. I really like what I see. And so far, there's not been any kind of big glaring things. It's like, like everything I've seen so far, it's like good stuff. They fixed militia, they fixed Italy, or at least incentivized Italy to join the war a little sooner. There's a whole host of interesting things across the map that just make things really cool. So yeah. That's it.
We can probably wrap this up now. I think we're gonna just break this up into whatever's convenient for us. So we may put out a 10-minute video next time, and we may do an hour-long video the time after that, just whatever it takes to talk about that topic. And and now we're getting to the meat and potatoes of stuff that's good. There's gonna be a lot to talk about. So
I feel like some of it could be skipped over too. Like when we get when we get to Kraken, some of the stuff will go surprisingly quick, and other stuff will be a bit more tedious.
I think combat will be a little quicker than you would think, because a lot of it's straightforward.
I mean, how much could we have anything to analyze? That's just it's there, regardless of what we think, right? It's there.
There are some changes to the way combat is handled that are important to bring up. Things like that.
Yeah, that's right.
But the core structure, the skeleton of how it's always been handled is still there. There's just a couple extra steps. There's maybe a decision that's different here. Things like that.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of that is worth explicitly talking about. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, for sure. Hopefully the map comes out soon too, and then we can all have a crack at it. Yeah, it'd be nice. Cool, excellent. Talk to you later.
All right, cool. How do I stop this now?